welcome back to another episode, The Doom of Fools. I have another special guest. He's probably the best CDH content creator on the planet. He probably has the best YouTube channel on the planet, and I'm not saying that because I'm on a couple videos. We have HiddenplanetX from Dead on Board. What's going on, Hidden? How you doing, buddy?
What's up? I'm doing good. I would say just grinding, unfortunately, for this week's video.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I have 3 podcasts this weekend, and I'm like, okay, make one, do this, edit that, do this. I don't know how you do gameplay. I'm gonna have to hire you as an editor or something.
God, I wish I could afford so badly,
Yeah.
but it takes me hours and hours to edit a video. I'm like, that'd be great. I don't have the money to spend $1,000 to have someone edit 1 week of videos.
Right. Yeah, it takes me like 2 hours to edit an audio video. So that's what I want to get into today is how hard it is to be a content creator, and maybe like behind the scenes. Maybe you can, hey guys, I know I make it look easy. I know I have 5.38 thousand subscribers, but it's a grind, and that's what today's episode is. So let's jump into it. So Hidden, how'd you get into Magic, and then how'd you get into CEDH?
Gotcha. So I guess it's like a 2 or 3 part story. So technically, I got into Magic probably when I was like 10 years old. One of my friends got me a 7th edition like starter deck where it came with 2 decks you were supposed to play against each other, and it came with a CD to put actually in your computer, and it was basically like the primitive Magic Online, where it was just an AI. You could play like 3 games to like learn the rules, and that's how I technically started Magic.
All right.
But that Magic lasted probably for like a good few years. But then I started playing like Yu-Gi-Oh and like bootleg Pokemon cards, so just kind of fell off of it. Then when I went into college, actually, I went a week early. There was some sort of program or whatnot that I got to move in a week early, and the people on my floor played Magic. So I'm like, I remember how to play. So I sat down with them. He handed me a deck, and then I had fucking no idea how to play this game anymore. I was like, oh yeah, it's just like riding a bike. And then I'm like, oh crap, I have no idea. But that's how I got into Magic. And then in terms of actual CDH, so I continued playing Magic throughout college. And then when I got out of college, I got my first job, and surprise to surprise, my manager actually played Magic the Gathering too. So he invited me to like the local Play Store, and him and like a few other people from where I worked played every Tuesday night. And we weren't playing CDH at the time. I mean, to be fair, when was this? It was like 2018, 2019. So CDH was definitely a different format than it is nowadays. But we were playing high-powered. I was playing, my favorite deck was Gave, Guru of Spores, which was just 3-color creature control. And we just started like ebbing up the power. And then suddenly we're like, Najeela came out. So my friend built Casual Warrior Najeela, which very much was a CDH Warrior deck, or CDH Warrior deck. It was a CDH deck. Then we have Braga, which is a deck that's been featured plenty on the channel, is CDH. So we just kind of up the power level here and there, and then before we know it, we're playing CDH. Well, it's kind of like this, where if you're playing in a definite play group, one guy gets 1 card, and another guy gets another card, and then the third guy gets a Mana Crypt, and then suddenly it's a Wheel of Fortune, suddenly it's a Lion's Eye Diamond, and then you're playing CDH. And I mean, we weren't playing, like, I think technically one of us had like a Stormless, but we were very much playing kind of like that kind of mid-rangey CDH game, but we were still playing CDH 100%.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm looking at your channel now, and 4 years ago, you have 185 views. Blue Farm, Zer, Brago, salt included.
So I guess fun fact is that Dead on Board wasn't the original channel name.
Oh,
So
yeah, really?
yeah, we were the Salt Road Quartermasters. Well, actually, we were King's Eternal was the very first, and that never made it through to, I think, an actual video, and then we changed it to the Salt Road Quartermasters, and then I was not happy with the name. And the Salt Road Quartermasters actually is a magic card, by the way. It's like it's a green creature from like Khans of Tarkir. It's not very good. But while we were still a pretty fresh channel, and I was working on getting a different logo and stuff like that, because I was doing everything myself, which, surprise, surprise, hasn't changed. And I started.
You're still doing it by yourself.
So I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could have a bunch of different channel logos where each of the channels was like one of the major creature types killing the player. So it was green had a bear, red had a dragon, blue had a squid. And I'm like, oh man, I really like that squid design. And I just went onto like Etsy and like, hey, I need a logo, and this is where Dead on Board came out.
Wow. Okay. So what you still have today.
So that's the logo. But I think Salt Road Quartermasters lasted, I don't remember, but it lasted, I want to say, at least like 4 or 5 different videos. So, and back then I was only doing it like every other week, because basically I had D&D the opposite week. So one week I would edit a game. The other week I would prep for my D&D campaign, and I just alternated between the two.
That's interesting. So I want to rewind it a little bit. What made you become a content creator and make Dead on Board? Were you just playing all the time and you're like, I bet people would watch this?
So it's two things. So I had originally started a YouTube channel back in college under HiddenplanetX, and I've been playing. I played a lot of Magic in college. I would play like 2 to 3 times a week, between like school clubs and just friends. So I'm like, oh, let me do it while I don't have classes and whatnot. But I never managed to have the time. What really kicked off the channel was COVID. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
It was, yeah, that was right at the start of COVID. Everything was locked down. We weren't able to play as in person, so I'm like playing online, and I might as well just record it. I think the first time, like one of the earlier games were like low edits, I want to say, where it was just, I think it was like no edits or just cutting like just the empty spaces, and I'll just post those. And I don't even know if we were calling it CDH originally, but we titled one of the videos like, I think our Anawan video is our like first big one. And it was like Anawan new CDH commander, and it popped off, and I'm like, well, I guess now we're a CDH channel.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. You went from like 800-900 views to out of nowhere. Let's see. Yeah, you went from 166 views to 2K CDH Real deck tech. And then you went.
Oh, yeah, I totally we were still doing deck techs at the thing.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. And then you got 3.4 for the CDH Enchantress. You got the Gishath deck tech. You know, that got 2.6K. But I see where you like did some things, and then you're talking about an Omnath ban and stuff like that. But yeah,
you can, if you're looking back at the old things, you can see the old Dead on Board squid logo that I made in paint.
Yep, that's what I'm looking at. That's the difference. I see right where you changed, and then I see your first new viable CDH commander, and you're talking about Corvold, and that's when you started. You started popping off. Dude, that is so cool. So why didn't you just do gameplay videos? Because like you said in the beginning, you did a couple other things. Is this just like the only thing that really pops that you're interested in, or what do you think?
So it's gameplays are easy. I'm not gonna lie. They're not easy in terms of like actually like they're time consuming. But for me, I was just I didn't know how to edit. I was using DaVinci. I mean, I still am using DaVinci Resolve. I was still trying to learn everything, so I didn't have to worry about like creative ideas or script writing or anything like that. I have a gameplay. I just need to edit it, and then I can put it out with minimal tweaks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where the deck techs, they were all decks that like either me or my friends personally did. They knew the ins and outs. And if you actually watch the deck techs, all the deck techs are actually themed, or themed might not be the right word, but in the Brago deck tech, I did like ghostly, like speaking as if I was Brago the whole time. For the keeping it salty, the Estrid Enchantress deck, I was like a bootleg. I was a bootleg like an army instructor.
Mm.
So writing those were a lot more work. And at that point, I was going into weekly creation. Because if you also look, I briefly did like thought pieces where I would just like give my opinions on recent events.
Yep. Yep.
And I found out I just did not like doing that kind of content. Well, I can't say that. I would love to return back to deck techs. I just don't have. Unfortunately, I don't build most of my decks nowadays. I just like tweak existing like so. Really, I don't have, I think, the knowledge that I'd want to do for deck tech to be able to answer and like give some real good insight other than Rhystic Study is a pretty good card. You should probably be playing it, kind of thing.
That's so funny. Yeah, I totally agree. And like also what I'm doing for my channel, it's like I'm doing what I want to listen to, right? Like I'm talking to you, I'm talking to a store owner in a couple weeks, I'm talking to one of the big I'm talking to Matt Tabak in a couple weeks. He's the guy that writes the rules for Magic. I'm talking to Comedian in a couple weeks. I'm talking to Tyler from Play to Win tomorrow. Like I would just want to talk to them about Magic anyways, and I happen to hit the record button. Like, I really feel like, especially content creators, you should do what you want to do and what you like doing. And I mean, dude, I'm preaching to the choir. This video 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, the Modern Rising, you have 9,000 views. I couldn't imagine 18,000 eyeballs looking at my dumbass shit that I do.
So funny because the only I didn't even realize the video had that many views because the only videos that I see are like so in YouTube they have a YouTube Studio app and they show you I think the last 3 videos and then how good your current video is.
Yeah.
So after 3 weeks, I don't see any of my views basically until I go back because I'm like, oh, I did something on this one. I'm like, holy shit, this one has a whole lot more views than I remember it having.
Yeah.
In the first.
Like, what did I do right? Let me listen back to it. Did I give away a car or something?
But going back to creating content that you enjoy, that very much was one of the things that I wanted to do. So when I consume a lot, or I don't consume as much anymore because I'm very busy. But I used to consume a lot of content, especially Commander content, like Commander Dojo, games by Clonehead. So there were a lot of kind of these other channels that I'm like, oh, I really like their videos. They do a lot of gameplay, but there's a few little tweaks that I want. I wanted what is it that's still going on? The Commander Versus. They like never put the cards up on the screen. So I'm like, oh, I really want to make sure that when I do that, I always have the last card on screen. Because I hate when they're like, oh, I play X card. I'm like, I have a pretty good memory of cards, but I don't remember what every card does. I don't remember what every effect does. And I'm like, so these little things that I'm like, this is what I want to watch.
What's your favorite deck to play?
Ooh, I assume in the CDH context.
Any context. I assume it's CDH, but like, what is because I noticed there's a lot of Kennons and Cedh. I noticed you go with a meta. You know, you have a lot of blue farms. There's a lot of Tymna decks I see, but like, you personally, like, HiddenplanetX is the person. I'm not going to say your real name if you don't want me to, but you as the person, what are you like, man, I can't wait to play this deck like every other week.
It's so tough. Is all those Cannon decks, all those blue farms, they're not me. I'm not the one playing that for the channel. I play a different deck almost every video because that's the type of player that I am. I definitely have a play style that I like. I like the mid-rangey kind of play style. In terms of like my Magic career, there have been probably like 3 decks overall that I really have enjoyed. And I talked about it originally. I had a Agave Guru Spores, which was like a hard creature control. It was using Agave and I want to say Blood Crypt. It's not Blood Crypt. It's Grave Pact
Great.
to like keep all the creatures out. Then it was Animar. And this is so my pimped out Animar deck, which I haven't touched probably in like a year and a half. I have everything is either foiled or altered.
Wow.
And
I'm an Animar player myself.
I don't like them right now, unfortunately, but that was so Gave and Animar were two decks that I played a lot in college, and they were like my pet decks that I was constantly tuning and whatnot. And even though I'd build a bunch of other ones, I tear the other ones down, those were the two that I always kept kind of in my repertoire. But I was always the guy that walked around with a Stanley, like the tool case that has like 20 decks or whatever.
Yeah. My brother has one of those.
And when I go to events, I bring, I think, 15 CDH decks whenever I go to any of the events. And then
Gotta love
the third one, the third one is the Riel deck tech. So Riel is probably the only deck that I've really built for myself because I'm like, I want to play as much interaction. Actually, the reason I built it was the first video on the channel was me playing Timna Crom. It was Opus Thief, and I drew my hand. I had like 2 different 4-drops. Everything was like sorcery speed, and I'm like, man, this deck sucks. I wanted to build the opposite of that, where I'm like, everything's 1 mana, 2 mana, instant speed. I want to be able to hold up interaction. I want to be able to interact with my opponents. I don't want to feel like I'm tapping out and then waiting for my next turn.
Riel, that's the one if you draw a card, you exile 2, right?
No, that is a different blue-red commander. However, Riel is the first time you would discard 1 or more cards, you draw that many. So it is.
Oh, the other.
Like
okay.
Yes, I don't remember what the other one you're talking about, but yes, it's a similar playstyle, but they use different enablers.
I got you.
But Riel's been the only deck that I've consistently had for my CDH career. Although I don't play her as much, but I've been picking her up every once in a while, and I'm very happy whenever I do.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I have Tevish Sassios is my baby, and I blew it up for a while. I was just aggravated, and then now my main deck is Tevish Crom that I take tournaments to. But I re-steamed up, I proxied up Tevish Sassios because that and Urza really got me into CDH, and you have to have your baby, and you have to keep working on it because that's
Say what? You're not using your happy, mad, sad stickers anymore?
No, I'm not doing that anymore. I smartened up. But what's so you don't I want to talk about like your history and all the Magic Cons and then our history when I met you in person. You don't play in any tournaments? Do you have any do you want to do that like tournaments CDH at all, or you too busy with the content stuff?
So it's kind of a little bit of both. So I've admitted over the years I've never played in a CDH tournament at all.
Okay.
I used to, when I started playing back in college, I would do like the pre-releases, and I think the biggest pre-release was like a 200-person pre-release, so it was massive. So I have played in a competitive environment. I used to play Modern, and my first deck was Birthing Pod, that got banned. Then I built Bloom Titan, that went banned, although it's in a good iteration right now. But I have played competitively, and at least waiting around for tournaments is like not exactly for me. I like the pressure of still trying to win the game that CDH mentality has, but I don't want to get jittery or anxious where I'm like, I got to do well and whatnot. So, and maybe if I had more time to do it, I would enter. Unfortunately, I do get a bit busy, and all the tournaments are like, oh yeah, on this Saturday it's all day. I'm like, I am editing all day Saturday. I do not have the time, unfortunately.
Like we're gonna go to CCS in November, and it's 300 people right now, and that's an all week event. Like we're gonna eat B&B with 7 people, and it's wake up early Saturday, play all day Saturday, and then if you make it the next day, play all day the next day, and then travel, get home at midnight Sunday night. It's like, hey, I hope you don't have any plans. My wife's like, oh, are you gonna go see the town? I'm like, I'm playing Magic. I don't have time. Like between rounds, I'm like, all right, we have 10 minutes till the round. Do you think it's gonna go around? All right, let's run across the street. Let's get some Chinese food. Like that is, but I definitely like playing with you. I've been on the channel 4 or 5 times playing with you. You definitely have the mind for it, and I'm kind of the same as you. I'm, jack of all trades, master of none. I have 10 CDH decks sleeved up right now. But with tournament EDH, I would love, if you just did one event, if you could just do like a local 20, 30, 40 person tournament, it's just another level. Like time is a thing, and playing for the draw is a thing at the end, and points. That's something that like spell table Magic never has. It doesn't have that, hey man, hurry up, like come on, it doesn't have 20 people around your table staring you while you might screw up the Underworld Reach combo, right? I really benefit from that. And then also getting into tournament, you probably do have to buckle down on one deck, but I get for your channel, yeah, you beat the last video I was on, I think you beat us with stupid Laura Croft. You had some crazy like teamer combos. I'm like, yeah, like Kennen and Bloom Tender and this and that, and then like some do the One Ring. I'm like, what? You pulled this out of fucking asshole, but you.
Well, I ended up winning off one of your cards. You had you were playing Garth One Eyes, and you had Mass Hysteria.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I was able to Bloom Tender Infinite Blink combo because you were able to give my brain.
Yeah, I blew that deck up. I noticed that helping my opponents isn't the best, smartest thing to do in CDH. So we're not going to talk about that anyways.
But I do agree. And I think there's 2 different tournaments that are held. I think they do monthly events. My only thing is that I don't have a paper list that isn't full proxied, and I think they limit it to 10 cards.
Okay.
So that's one of the other barriers.
It's a little different. Yeah, I think like a big tournament like CCS is like that. But I go to one 2 hours away. It's called Sky High Games. It's like east of Orlando a little bit. And you can paper the whole deck as long as the paper proxies are the art of the card. So, and they'll print it for you. Like they want beginners to play. Right, but yeah, the bigger tournaments and like the online tournaments, yeah, that is a hassle for sure. But nowadays, I'm talking to some people. If you go to any more Magic Cons, they have CDH tournaments now. I'm going to Tampa SCG Con, and they have a CDH 5K, and they have 2 modern $10 entry 10Ks. Like, yeah, they don't do proxies, but like we're starting to have a friend group of 5 to 15 people, and I have 3 buddies, and they're like, hey, we don't have the proxies. I'm like, borrow a deck. Between me and my brother, we have 15 real decks, right? So you borrow a deck or borrow some cards, like make it a thing. I really think you missing out on that aspect of it, like the high stakes, because you are a good player. But I get what you're saying. Like content does get crazy. So I want to talk a little bit about the Magic Cons. I believe you went to Magic 30. I met you in Orlando. Like from outside looking in, we talked about it a little bit earlier before we started recording, but outside looking in, you're living the dream, right? Like, oh, I'm in Command Fest Orlando, and I'm Command Fest this, and I get to play CDH all weekend with Play to Win, and it's amazing. So let's get behind the scenes. How hard is it with all your crazy schedule? I don't even know what you do for a living. But how hard is it to go to all the Magic Cons, and how fun is it? Can you enjoy it as a Magic player, or is it just strictly business?
So definitely the Magic Cons are kind of the highlight. I mean, to be fair, I'm lucky that my 9 to 5 puts the bill for everything, because even with the 5.3, I wouldn't be able to afford the plane tickets.
Right.
I'd be able to, like, 1 month would get me the ticket into the actual event, and that was it.
Yeah, you're not doing this for financial gains.
Yeah. So I laugh because I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend all day doing a tournament, and then I go to one of these Magic events. And so we had a local one earlier this year. It was an SCG event. It was SCG Hartford, and I wasn't in the tournament, but I was there just jamming. And I would get there at like 10 a.m. and I'd leave at 9 p.m. and I would just jam Magic the entire day. So definitely the Magic events are kind of that highlight. that this is great. Like, I'm here just to jam. I mean, luckily for me, all I'm caring about is like all I need to do is set up a tripod, hit record, stop video, record, stop video. So in terms of content creation while I'm at an event, it's pretty minimal. The only thing that sucks is lugging around my camera, my tripod, and all that. But I get to just sit down, see a bunch of different people, and play a lot of games. So that definitely is the highlight. And like recently I was at Chicago and that was a blast. I went with Chukimon from Keeping It Casual, Mr. Doggo Dude, and some other friends. So we all got to pile into an Airbnb. And unlike some of the other events where I went solo, it's really nice having other people that once the event ends, you can be like, oh, cool. I don't have to just like go back to my hotel room, order DoorDash, eat by myself, go to sleep, and then play Magic the next day.
That's funny. I remember when I met you, Command Fest Orlando, I played, I was by myself. My brother-in-law and his girlfriend were supposed to come, but they got sick. So I was by myself and I'm like, this kind of sucks. Whatever. Like, I'll just go. And then I met some people there from my local community. They weren't really CDH players. So then you get the ticket and I played a CDH game and I was like, I'm not having fun at all. And I was just walking around and then I saw you and I'm like, dude, are you dead on board? I was a subscriber, but I didn't ever like go on the video or anything. And then I remember you're like, hey man, you want to play some games? And you know, instead of paying $10, $15 a CDH ticket, I played with you for 6 hours. And I remember how much fun it was. You know, you forget you're recording and we had a blast. And I do remember vaguely, I met you, we played 2 games. It was like 2 hours into meeting you right next to you. And you go, hey man, I know I just met you, but I have to be so bad. And it was just me and you. And you're like, I need to get snacks. And I'm like, dude, go ahead. And I sat at the table, watched your stuff for like 30 minutes. And you're like, oh dude, I've been holding that for 8 hours. I've been here since 9.
My legs burned so badly because I think I must have broken like a speed walking record because I hightailed it out of there because I had to go so badly. Because you're right. I did Orlando all by myself. I've done plenty of events all by myself, and I've still had a blast. And luckily, if you've never been, I mean, I'm also a con person. I've gone to anime conventions all my life, whether it be in a group or solo. I'm one of those people that like loves the excitement in the crowd. So if anyone's listening to this and they haven't gone, 100% recommend.
100%.
You don't need to pay for any events. Just get in, get your ticket, and like, assuming you want to jam Commander. If you want to actually like draft and stuff like that, that's a different question. But if you want to just jam Commander, bring a few decks and just play. There's so many people.
Yeah. I've been to Command Fest Orlando twice now, and I went one with my brother, and then I went one by myself with you. And I met you, and is all you want to do is buy the ticket and nothing else, and then play Magic for a day or 2 days or the whole weekend. That's what you do. You don't even have to, hey, anybody want to play Magic? No, just you're going to sit there. People are like, hey, man, we need one. Okay, cool. Now you play Magic for 3 hours. It is a good environment. That's 95% of the community, in my experience, have been amazing. Doing this podcast, I'm hitting up CDH players that have 50,000 subscribers. And I'm like, hey, man, I know I have 10 subscribers, but I would love to do if you do my podcast. And they're like, yeah, man, sure. I love the community. I just went to Alex Heyer. He's one of the forefronts pioneers of CDH to get it popular. Like you have 5,000 subscribers. You're not getting anything from, doing this hour podcast with me, but you're like, hey, I'm helping the community. You're a cool guy. Let's do it. Let's talk. And that's the best thing about this community. It's the gathering. I can't say it enough. I especially CDH. You think, oh, there's the sweaty Magic players and their combo. No, we all want to get, like while you're doing content, while I'm doing content, we all want it to get popular. And I can't wait for 1,000 people tournaments. I was talking to Hire about it. His fishbowl is going to have 300 people. I'm going to 300-person tournament in November. If 5 years ago you told somebody, hey, there's going to be every weekend a 100-person tournament, they're going to be like, get out of here, man. No way. And then in 5 years, who knows where it's going to be, right?
And one of the things that, even though I've been creating content for 4 years, that hasn't changed, where the community's been great. Like, I remember the exact same thing when I started out. I'm like, oh man, I've got no subscribers. No one's going to want to play with me or anything like that. And then I reach out to like Alan from Mental Misplay, and he's like, yeah, dude, let's get a game in. I reached out to Mons from CDH TV, and he's like, "Yeah, hop in." And I'm like, it kind of blew my mind that I'm like, man, I've got 100 subscribers. I'm playing with people in the thousands that I watched growing up when I would watch when all my Magic content and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm playing with them.
Yeah, man. I was talking to Alex Hire, and I'm like, dude, you're the one who got me in CDH. I was watching you play Kitten, and you said in response to everything, I'm going to put 1 million activations on the stack. And I was like, what is he talking about? This isn't even the same language. I'm just used to dragons go burr, right? So I was like, you got me into this 3 years ago. If I was me 3 years ago, I'd be flipping out because I'm talking to you. He's like, dude, I'll do a podcast anytime. I don't care if you have 1 subscriber. And that's the best thing about it, right? So I want to segue into, do you have any advice for maybe a new content creator? And like, I want to go back a little bit about you, and is it worth it? And the love and the passion you have for this game, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you always going to be on Dead on Board? Like, is it for the love of the game? Like, I want to get to know you as the person instead of just, the guy that posts my favorite videos every week.
Let's break up those 2 questions, I guess. So let me start with, do I have any like kind of recommendations for anyone starting out or thinking about starting out? And for one, I guess the first recommendation, you hear it all the time, is just post it. As I said earlier, when I started posting my videos, I posted a bunch of different things, learn what I liked, learn what I didn't. Just keep posting it. Eventually, you'll find something that clicks, or maybe it does well, and you're like, oh man, I can keep doing that. 2, in terms of actually recommendations, I said try everything you can, try and be consistent, and just get it out into the world so people can see it. It doesn't matter how much you stress over it. Your first video, your first 10 video, your first 100 videos are not going to be great, probably.
Right.
And I definitely know, I go back to some of my videos and I listen to some of the earlier stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, has this changed for the better? I would say that.
Yeah, when you're like, I painted my logo compared to now look at what it is. It's not even the same.
Well, even like the audio quality's gotten better. I would say the edits have been upgraded. I've done animations for the start of the videos. I've even recorded myself and whatnot. So just do a video, and after that video being like, I like this, I don't like that, make one little tweak for the next one, and then just keep doing that.
I wanted to talk about what you were just saying. We did, I don't remember. It was Lord of the Rings. We did the Lord of the Rings set, and I had Sauron, the Grixis one, the one, the Orc Army one when someone casts a spell or whatever. And
yeah, we would just not let you have anything. That was those 2 games that were recorded.
But it was funny is probably 2 months ago, I'm talking to this guy and he has a Sauron deck. And I was like, yeah, man, I built Sauron. I was one of the first guys to build Sauron, and it was on the Dead on Board channel. And I have like 500 views on that because of the Dead on Board. He's like, are you Ghost Stealers 91? Because that's what I based the list off of. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, me? I'm just a random dude, Florida cracker. He's like, yeah, man, I watched that video. I thought it was awesome. And I'm like, well, I didn't win. He's like, I got the idea from you. I'm like, dude, it's just Grixis good stuff. And so I talked to him. He's a friend of mine now in my friend group, and he loves that deck. And I talk to him about it all the time. And he just thought I was a celebrity. And I'm like, dude, I ain't shit. So that's just how small the world is, of a random video with you a year ago.
So I laugh. So I've been playing with a new local player group here, and one of the people is new to CDH, not new to Magic. So he was trying Cedh, and 5-color Cedh is a tough deck to pilot. So after one night, he lost pretty badly the whole night, unfortunately. So he's like, let me search up how to play this deck, better mulligans and whatnot. And he searches Cedh CDH, and he's the top result. A video that he played and lost in is the top results of his search on how to play this deck.
And you're like, all right, guys, hear me out. I'm a lot better Magic player in real life. Yeah, don't look up my name in Dead on Board. I'm like 0-5. I've only won one game, but he ended up not posting it because it was like turn 2 ad nos. But yeah, don't look at my EDH top 16 ranking. It's really bad. I've gotten a lot better.
So that's been one of the caveats that has been a negative, I guess, when I've been posting videos, is that the videos that make it onto my channel tend to be those kind of mid-rangey into like slight late game. And basically, if the game lasts between an hour and an hour and a half, it'll get edited. If the video is less than that, it probably is too short. And if the video is over than that, it's too long. And that's been the one thing, because I'm like, who wants to watch? I mean, it happens all the time where someone turns twos. Last week, I was playing with my friends, and the night we played 5 games in like 2 hours.
Wow.
Because I turn two'd someone, then the next person turn two'd someone, and then the other one turn three'd someone. So, and granted, we're playing Kinnan, we were playing Atraxa, we were playing like good like CDH decks, and I'm like, those are all fun games, but they all lasted 18 minutes. That's almost like, that's 3 minutes longer than one of my edited videos that I take an hour and shorten it down.
Right.
So unfortunately, it won't see the light of day.
So like a 15, 20-minute CDH video, is that like an hour long in real life?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, it depends, but most of the games that I edit are an hour to an hour and a half real time.
Wow.
That gets shortened down to about a 10-minute to a 15-minute video.
So like with your channel, right? When you're talking about your videos from before and then to now, so is it a lot of this just trial and error and learning on your own and watching other YouTube videos? Because obviously you said you've gotten a lot better at editing and stuff. Like, would you give someone like me or someone doing what you're doing, but that only has 500 followers, what advice would you give them, like editing wise? Hey, just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. You'll get better at it.
So, for at least in terms of editing, for me, I really can't comment on like stylistics, like, oh, fade in here and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's all about learning to be efficient. Because as I said, that hour-long game takes me almost 8 hours to edit.
Oh,
which is, it is a lot. Some games, yeah, it very much is. So I laugh when I'm using DaVinci Resolve, and keyboard shortcuts are your friends. When I edit videos, I use 4 keystrokes. I have a map to WASD, and that is select, the cut tool, ripple delete, and then normal delete. And that's my entire video is edited along with the mouse button. That's how I do it. And
again,
no,
like all the cards you have to put on the screen. Do you have, have a file open of all the magic cards?
Yes, actually, that's what I do. So I use 2 monitors where I have DaVinci Resolve on my left monitor, and on my right monitor I have it's a file that is just called card images, and that's where I have all the card images saved. And then on my right, I just have Scryfall open. So if let's say he plays Mike's opening turn is a Tundra into a Mana Crypt, tapping it out for a Rhystic Study. I will go onto my video editor. I will go onto my folder that has the thing. I will type out Tropical Island, drag and drop. Then I will type out Mana Crypt, or just like MA, which will get me to the section that Mana Crypt's in, and I can drag and drop. Mm-hmm. And then once I'm done editing everything, or adding all the card images, then all at once I will resize it. I will move everything over, because I found out doing it individually, it just eats up more time when try and do everything all at once.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. And maybe I want to get a little bit behind the scenes too of excuse me. I want to get behind the scenes of I believe you told me before you have a script. You write everything out, and then when you record, you make your video, you say, you just say your script as you're
Yep. So right now, I mean, if you've probably heard it, I have a lot of does, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So or so's, and a lot of extra ands. Basically, what I found is easiest for me is the whole process of that is first I select what game I want off of my memory, off of the correct time, off of whatever factors I say. All right, this is the video I want to edit. Then I will put that edited video into my editing software or just view it normally. And while the games are happening, I'll have a Google Docs open and I will watch, and the person will play a mana crypt into a Rhystic Study. On the right side, I will say, all right, Mike plays a mana crypt and then casts the Rhystic Study, and he ends his turn there. And I write it out like how I'd speak it, because that just helps me. Once I'm done writing out all the game actions, I can go back and just open up. I think I use Audacity to do my voiceover, and I can hit record, and I can just read off my scripts right in front. And that will help me keep everything concise. That way I don't have to worry about anything, especially like remembering cards or sequencing or anything like that. Everything is just, I have a script, I can read it out, and I might make some tweaks as I'm writing it or as I'm reading it out, because sometimes I write the script a little nonsensical. It makes sense in my head. It doesn't sound right, but that's basically the process.
Would you recommend that to somebody? Way of doing it. It sounds a little harder.
It definitely, well, it's one of those things that a lot of, if you look, there's like 2 differentials for gameplay, or maybe 3, where it is, are you doing a voiceover or are you doing game audio? Like, Play to Win uses a lot of game audio. They don't really do any voiceovers. That is easier because it just skips a step. If I didn't want to do my narration, I could just go straight into editing. That's not personally, you can be a little tighter. You can cut out extra things if you can voice over it. Because when we're playing Magic the Gathering, we're not robots. We don't play everything in order. We shortcut. We do a bunch of little things. And especially if we're having a conversation, if we're having fun, we'll be playing cards while having a conversation about cheese sticks or something like that. So
I remember when you're playing on Nixless and you go to attack with him. I always remember this. And he goes, "Does that have flying and trample?" And you're like, "Yeah, it has both. Flample." And y'all started laughing.
So it's one of those things. Yes, and for me, sometimes I love including little snippets like that in the gameplay. But for me, I like being able to, all right, cut here. I can just show the game actions. I don't need to worry that the person is saying they have a command tower as they play a command tower kind of thing.
Okay.
Especially since it's my pet peeve, and I do it sometimes. People pronounce and say the lands you play. So many times someone will play out a land. They don't even say that they've played a land, and then they cast a spell, and I'm like, for one, my video recording isn't good enough for me to perfectly zoom in on the cards.
Right.
And it frustrates me so much. So that's just like one of my pet peeves, is people playing lands and then casting their spells and not announcing their game actions.
You're like, all right, that looks like an underground sea, but I'm not sure. Let me guess.
Yes. Especially, yeah, some of them are easy because like the underground seas don't have a lot of reprintings. But with Wizards nowadays, that they print several different art treatments, like the Count Dracula lands of like Cavern of Souls and stuff like that, I don't recognize those cards on sight. It just look like a dark, blurry mass.
Right. It's not like a Soul Ring. Like there's 9,000 Soul Rings, but it's Soul Ring. It's easy. But like, yeah,
but it might be like one of the Fallout Soul Rings or stuff like that, which has unique art that I don't know. I mean, luckily, when people are casting their spells, they're generally good. But it's lands that people often forget about.
Right. And how do you keep up? I don't want to say anything negative about WotC, but how do you keep up with all the goddamn sets that come out? And you're literally, if you look at your channel now, you're consistently with the meta, but you're always like, hey, here's the new commander. This is this is that Polani. This is the new Adraxa. Sisei is the second best deck of the format. Like, how do you keep up with it all, dude?
So, as I said, Riel is like the only deck that I have actually built for myself. I use a lot of lists, and it takes me a little while to make sure that I'm using a list that I'm happy with, but I'm using EDH top 16, I'm using the database, or I'm relying on other players to make sure that they are building decks, and sometimes it doesn't happen. We've had a few times where, especially for like the new commanders, where one deck, they I'm just trusting the person that says that they're building it CDH. But for me, I keep. Luckily, CDH doesn't change a whole lot. You see a few extra cards here and there,
Right.
but most of the top decks, Cedh has like a few flex spots. So even if the deck does update, a deck from like 6 months ago generally will be at least the same power level. Because you can always just explain it away, being like, "Oh, these are my flex spots" and stuff like that.
Right. I gotcha. Okay. That's a good understanding. I'm glad we did this because a lot of people are just like, what? 8 hours of editing and this and that. And how does he do it all? So I do appreciate your time. There's two more things I wanted to touch on. It's a proposal. You could tell me to fuck off, but I want to go back on the channel, but I want to do an all Tevish pod. You can have Tevish and then whoever you want. Tevish Sassios, Tevish Crom, Tevish Tormod. I don't care. But that's my proposal, and I am all in. If you need me, let me know date or time. If you need a list, I have all the Tevish decks. Let me know. But I would love to do. I think that would be so cool because I see you have a couple double cannons. Like, how cool that be? All cannons. Like, okay, which one's the best cannon, right? So I that's my proposal. You can tell me to fuck off later. You don't have to. And I'd love.
I mean, I'm one of those people that, like, if you want to play, like, for anyone that like wants to play with me, just reach out. I will schedule a game. Like, I have to make sure that it's scheduled and make sure that I remember and like carve out time. But I'm always one, like, if I have plenty of people that reach out to me like, "Hey, I want to get a game," and I'm like, "Sure, just say when you're free, and I'll set something up."
Yep.
So if you want to do an all Tevish game, go for it. I will happily join.
The problem
I don't know
is getting the other two people. Hey, do you know Tevish? Do you have a deck on Moxfield? Or that's the problem.
It's definitely well, one of the things that doesn't irk me, but as a jack of all kind of player, I like showcasing different decks on the channel. However, if you just play with the same people, most of them have like 1 to 2 decks, which is great. But if you constantly play with them, you're like, all right, I've seen your Kinnan list. I've seen your pod list. I'm like, there's only so many combinations of that. And I want to make sure that my audience isn't getting like stale to those.
There's only so many Tevish games you can show. Like, guys, we get it. It's Esper Control.
That's always been one of my things is that CDH, the meta, like, it changes a little bit. But like, if you look at like Comedian's top 10, like the deck, like he lists most of the same decks. Like out of like the top 20 decks, like almost all of them stay the same kind of thing. Whether or not they move up or down, but like they stay the same.
Yeah, random decks like that. But yeah, no, I did the top 10 decks have 8 out of the 10 top 10 decks have been the top 10 decks for 2 years now. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. So I got a few minutes left. I got to ask you, I ask everybody, you know, the hot topic right now is the ban list. Where do you think, with your perspective, I know you don't play tournaments, but you do obviously post a CDH game every week, so you're in the meta. Where do you think the meta is now? And if we could touch a little bit on the ban list, do you think banning Ristic Study and unbanning a couple of those cards, do you think that's the end-all, be-all? What do you think, Hidden?
So I want to preface this. There's like, I have 2 trains of thoughts. For one, yes, I think a ban list for CDH is good for CDH in terms of like play. I think a ban list to make CDH its own thing and cut yourself away from normal EDH is a terrible idea.
Okay.
We get all of our players from normal EDH, and if we cut off that lifeline and we make ourselves our own format, we are just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. I think for good gameplay, switching things up, having meta changes, banning cards, unbanning cards is a good idea.
Okay.
Specifically for this ban list, I think it's a few too many cards. I would have liked probably like 1 in, 1 out kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've always said, so for me, I've always wanted a kind of roving ban list where you say, all right, this half of the year we ban one card, and then the next half of the year we unban that card and ban a new card, just to see what it's like. And we're only banning or unbanning one card, so it's not like suddenly a whole the format would change, but it's not like we're banning 20 cards. We're not becoming Conquest, which is a completely different competitive format that just never took off. And I don't want CDH to become that.
Right. And I think, 3 years ago when Flash had, CDH at gunpoint, it was falling off and everyone's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to play in this format because everything's Flash, everything's the same deck. And then they ban it and look how healthy it was for a long time. And now it's getting to the point where there is 4 or 5 decks, like tournament-wise, and then everything else, and that sucks. So for me, Rhystic Study is the most powerful card, but I think Orcish Bowmaster is the most bannable card because there's 10 to 20 decks in the last 2 years that aren't a deck anymore because of that one card, and I don't think that's fair. And I think with Rhystic Study, it's the newer players and the players that don't have all the experience, they feed that. But if you go to a top 16 and you're looking at Wounded Satellite and Freedom Waffle and Comedian, they're not giving you a damn card unless they have to, right? That's the power level of it. But I'm all good. Go ahead and ban Rhystic Study, because if you were to ask a casual Commander player, yeah, Rhystic Study's a problem. But if you ask them, hey, do you know what Underworld Breach does or Thassa's Oracle does? And they're like, oh, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that's the issue, is like, if we're going to become the RC, it's going to change everything. And also the other big debate is, this is just for top deck events. So now I have to change my deck because, okay, ban Rhystic Study, unban 5, 6 other cards. A couple of them are green decks. That changes the whole format. Now Tatsiova's a deck, and Leovold, the guy that can draw cards, it's a whole different meta. So I don't know if we want to go down that road, but I'm with you. Let's go ahead, ban Rhystic Study, unban Primal Evil Titan, and let's see where it is. But you're unbanning 7 cards and banning 1 card. It's not even the same thing, right?
I agree. Although to be fair, like I was like, oh, let's ban 1 card. My 1 card would be Thassa's Oracle. I'm not gonna lie. That would be the, like, I know people are calling for Orcish Bowmasters or Dockside. I'm like, no, let's ban Thassa's. Thassa's is the bane of my existence. As someone who everyone plays Thassa's, but that's the one that I would ban.
Well, the problem with that is A, casual, Thassa's not a card, and B, that card's dog shit. Like, that card does not do anything by itself, right? Like, that card sucks. Rhystic Study,
but it goes in every deck. It's
going every deck.
Premier WinCon, like
I'm with you.
It's one of those things for me is the answers available to the format really heavily leans blue to stop Thassa's.
No, I'm with you, but I feel like if you ban Thassa's Oracle, we're going backwards. It's not a healthier format. Now we go from 5, 6 decks to 2 or 3 decks, right? Like, now
I think it's the opposite.
The best thing to do already.
But Underworld Breach is way more hateable in other colors than Thassa's is.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I think Underworld Breach is better in a sense of one gamble, I win the game. Okay, I'm set up. Okay, cool. I feel like if you ban Thoracle, the game just got so much slower and we're going backwards. But also, I'm with you on that. Like, okay, the planet of Thassa's Oracle, but Thassa's Oracle isn't making what CDH is now, what started the ban conversation. It wasn't Thassa's Oracle, I promise you. It was Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Orcish Bowmasters, and Dockside. Those cards are the best cards in our format, tournament EDH, by far. Thassa's Oracle isn't even close to the conversation. So if you're going to skip all those and then ban Thassa's Oracle, we're going backwards, in my opinion. I'm doing my homework. I'm tournament grinding. This is just my opinion where I'm getting from. But I'm with you. Like, Thassa's Oracle was, it's a problem. Like, okay, I have 3 mana, I win here. That's not healthy at all. But if you ban Thassa's Oracle and don't ban Rhystic Study, like, what are we doing, guys? Like, that didn't affect the format at all. You think that hurt Blue Farm or Roxai or Cedh at all? No, it didn't. Not even a little bit. You know what I mean?
So I guess my question is, so the big thing is, what are these bannings trying to achieve? And the most positive things that I've seen off people is that we're trying to increase deck diversity and we're trying to have overall a healthier format. I think having Thassa's as the premier win con that mono green can't really stop. Thassa's limits decks more than Dockside limits a deck, than Orcish Bowmaster. Like, Bowmaster does stink.
Yeah.
But I think because CDH is so about its win cons, I think by eliminating Thassa's, you give a little bit more time to let you kind of spread out, because it's not 3 mana, 2 cards, I win the game.
Yeah, but I completely disagree with you in the sense of playing Thassa's Oracle does not make 10. It's pretty much green is unplayable unless like you're in Cedh or like Kinnan right now because of Orcish Bowmaster. Orcish Bowmaster made it where, hey, you know all those cool creature decks, the Thrasios, Bruces, and the Rockos? Yeah, those don't come here anymore. It changed the whole format. So now there's literally, so I talk to everybody about this. You have Blue Farm, Rogsai, Cedh. Then you have Nadu and Kinnan. And then you have everybody else, like Tournament EDH. It's a huge drop-off. And then you have the next 5, Tivit, Atraxas, so on and so forth. And then if anyone tries to bring these fringe decks into this format, they don't have a chance. And I'm not saying because, you know, the Orcish Bowmaster by itself, but it's like, okay, Ristic Study, right? They printed Bowmaster. I'm like, oh, this is great for the format. No more Ristic Studies. No, they don't punish the player drawing the card. They're poking your dorks, and they're poking this, and they're poking your face. It doesn't. I was like, oh, it's great. It's good against Blue Farm. Since Bowmaster, Cedh and Kinnan were right there, like so close to Blue Farm. There's top 3, top 5 decks. Bowmaster got printed. It's like, no, this is the best card for Blue Farm ever, and Born Upon a Win. Right? So now Blue Farm is the second deck isn't even close. Rockside is as close as ever gotten, but I don't think historically it's going to be better than Blue Farm. And again, these are just my opinions, and it's good to talk about, right? Like if we're going to ban Thassa's Oracle, I don't want us to ban Thassa's Oracle because there's 5 people in the room and said, yeah, we all agree we don't like Thassa's Oracle. That's not, you know, now it's another format. Now it's just us saying this, I don't like Bowmaster, you don't like Oracle. I want to see statistics. I want to see, hey, 100 games were played, 67% of them, the guy won because he had a Ristic Study. A guy won because of the Dockside. The guy won because Thassa's Oracle. Right? I want that. I don't want Top Deck to go, hey guys, we're going to play test our 5-10 people and we're going to do this. What I like what they did is, hey guys, this is what we're looking at and we're going to test and we're going to talk to the community. That's amazing. I love that. But you cannot ban Ristic Study and keep all that other stuff at bay. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we have a new Sultai commander that nobody can draw cards. By the way, we have Fast Spawn, where it's a 1 mana ad nauseum in the right deck. Like, that's not helping the format a little bit. But again, we're testing it and we're talking about it. We're having healthy conversations like me and you. We can both respectfully disagree and then move forward, right? But I'm glad now it's not going on deaf ears. Right, they're actually doing something, because I think not doing anything is negative, because the format, the way it's going right now, is negative. Like, there's one deck, then there's Rocksai, and then everybody else, right?
No, I completely understand. As I said, I think for CDH in general, a updated ban list would help it. I think, and as CDH in the EDH space, that hurts it. But I agree. I think a curated, as you said, I know a lot of people like playing Canlander, and I know they change up their point structure and what cards are valued and whatnot pretty regularly, and people don't necessarily, I mean, I know everyone's going to complain, everyone's always going to say, you should have banned this, you shouldn't have banned this, blah, blah, blah. But I agree, I think for a healthy format, that should happen. Because you're right, the last time we got a ban was Hullbreacher.
Well,
although I agree, that card sucks.
Thank you. I don't know if you ever played in a pod where there was 2 Hullbreachers. All right, guys, we're drawing. Is that cool? All right. You want to play another game? Okay, cool.
As I said, I was playing, my pet deck is Riel, and that card, you mean, I play it myself, but like, that card sucks.
Oh my god, it was ruthless. It was like Wheel of Fortune. Okay, cool. In response, Hullbreacher. All right. In response, third player, Hullbreacher. All right, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing here? We can't cast anything. We can't draw anything. We're high-fiving each other. But I'm glad. I'm glad we talked about it. I really that's about time for today. But I really appreciate getting you on the pod. I'd love to do another pod later for sure. Maybe if they do ban stuff, maybe revisit the conversation and let's really talk about it. Let's say, hey, this, and this. I've made videos for the last 4 years, and this is what I consistently see in the format. You have a voice. If you're on Discord, we could talk about it. And that's what I like about the communities. Let's talk. Not just RC goes, ban Ristic Study, ban Golos. Well, why? Because we don't like it. Okay. All right. Like, I'm glad we're actually like doing our homework and stuff. So anyways, thank you a lot for coming on the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Did you want to plug anything?
I mean, I I guess go watch the channel, go watch my videos. Do you know when this is gonna get like posted?
I'm not sure. Probably a couple weeks or maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then by then I will have an updated merch line. We are taking some really cool photos next week. So hopefully by then I have some new designs that'll come up.
Cool. Yeah, send me any.
And they're going to be really sweet.
I'll put everything in the show notes. It's Dead on Board MTG. And like he said, join the Patreon, join the Discord. He's really cool. After playing with him all day at Command Fest, like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, man, we need a fourth. You want to hop in a game? And it'll be on the channel. And I'm like, dude, yeah. So the community's really good over there. And I want everybody to go check it out. Hidden couldn't be any cooler. Thank you again for joining the pod. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Y'all have a good day. Do you have any outros you want to do? Come on. Come on.
I was saying, do you want the full outro or do you want just?
Baby, you know what I want. Come on, let's hear it.
All right, go to text. That is trampled. Oh my god, I guess I'm just dead on board.
I love it. You heard it. Dead on board. All right, guys, y'all have a good day. See ya.